Good morning and welcome to the Damon Speech Contest 2019. Public speaking, also known as rhetoric, has a very long history at this school. This contest was founded by the Reverend Samuel Damon, a Punahou trustee. His son, Willie Damon, won the rhetoric competition in the year 1872. Now, when young Willie died of typhoid fever just 5 years after graduation, his father donated a sum of money to the school for a speech contest in his son's memory. Of course, the contest has gone through a lot of changes over 142 years, as you would imagine. In the beginning, for example, speakers didn't write their own speeches like we folks did. Instead, they memorized pieces from literature or plays or poetry, and they would recite them to the audience. Sometimes they even had musical accompaniment during the recitation. However, in 1921, the contest took the form it has today, with the speakers writing their own pieces and no violins or pianos playing up there in the background. The 8 contestants sitting up here on stage have a lot of history to live up to, folks. But I'm confident of their speaking ability just because each is already a winner. Just by getting into the finals, these 8 people seated up there rank as the top 2% of the speakers in your graduating class. I'd like to read your names. Let's hold our applause till the last name. From your left, we have Jack Walter, Michael Hare, Coco Leon, David Santani, Sonia Duval-Arnold, Irene Zong, Nicholas Lockwood, and Valerie Lim. Let's give them a round. Now we have 7 judges in the hall this morning, including members of the Academy Speech and Debate team. Here are the speech guidelines the judges will be following. The speech topic must be a problem, opinion, or concern with serious intent or goal. Humor may be used to emphasize important points, but the speech shall not be a stand-up comedy routine. There shall be no reading of prepared papers, nor shall there be costumes or props. Within those guidelines, each judge will be choosing his or her top 3 speakers. The contest is decided on points, and a first place is worth 16 points, a second place is worth 11, and a third place is worth 7 points. When the contest is over, we'll pause for a few minutes while Mrs. Teskey and I add up all the points, and then I will announce the bronze, silver, and gold medal winners and give them their laser-cut trophies that Mr. Lubman has made, and then we'll get them all up on stage and give them a big round of applause. So with no further ado, let's get started with our first speaker, Jack Walter. Jack's speech is entitled Childhood Obesity.
In an age of video games, processed foods, and less exercise, child obesity has become a major problem in America. You can look at the various data and graphs displaying child obesity trends. They all point to the fact that this problem is just getting worse and worse year by year. What can be done? Are there resources out there that will help lead our nation's people into a better well-being, helping give more children the confidence to become active, helping more children achieve the physical and emotional health needed for true happiness? Well, yes, there is hope and there are resources available. Although child obesity hasn't gotten any better, over the past 3 decades, acclaimed people, such as Michelle Obama, yearn to make a difference. Today, in my speech, I'll be explaining the many problems causing child obesity and the many ways in which we can help prevent this problem for our generation's future. Today, 1 in every 3 children in America are either overweight or obese. Now, I find this somewhat eye-opening. Nearly 40% of children in African American and Hispanic communities are obese, while in Native American and Alaska Native communities, rates are said to be even higher. Another disappointing fact surrounding obesity in general is that both youth and adult obesity trends have increased over the past 30 years, with 18.5% of youth being obese and 39.6% of adults being obese. The importance of acting now to prevent obesity upon America's children is essential. In her Let's Move campaign, Michelle Obama says, if we do not solve this problem, 1/3 of all children born in 2000 or later will suffer from diabetes at some point in their lives. Many others will face chronic obesity-related health problems such as high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, and asthma. This could be me or even one of you. Now let me provide a solution to this problem. Hope. Many people around the world, including me, feel the importance of exercise. In her Let's Move campaign, Michelle Obama says things such as, support a community garden, help build a community playground. You can take walks or bikes with your family from place to place. Go on a hike with them. Or just do whatever you can to get out of the house. However, a lack of exercise isn't the dominant problem surrounding obesity. Eating habits and junk food might be more of the problem. Portion sizes have exploded, being 2 to 5 times bigger than they were in years past. My advice for everyone is to get support from your parents or from people whom you are close to. Get active. Just put down the video games. Being fit and eating healthily have many benefits, including maintaining a healthy weight, improved mental health, better immunity, and sustained energy. Lastly, regular exercise also has been shown to improve academic performance as well as classroom behavior. Although we are constantly bombarded with video games, junk food commercials, and tempting fast food, we should still try to all live a healthy, balanced life. All of you in your seats can now make a difference to solve this problem. Encourage yourself or the people around you to follow these guidelines I shared with you today. Remember, having healthy habits as a 7th grade child will develop into your future, giving you the attitude and motivation needed for success. Stay gold. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Next up is Michael Hale. Michael's speech is entitled Global Warming.
If I had told you Hawaii is disappearing, and it's disappearing fast, would you believe me? How many of you can walk to the beach from your house? Please raise your hand. Well, studies show that in 100 years, sea levels are predicted to rise 15 feet due to melting glaciers in Antarctica and Greenland. Based on a study done in 2018 by the University of Hawaii, a rise in sea level will affect 34% of our state. In fact, by 2060, which is only 41 years away, sea levels are predicted to rise 15 feet. And that means if you raised your hand earlier, by the time you're Mr. Earl's age, your house will probably be flooded with over 6,500 other structures and 25,800 acres of land. Over 20,000 people will lose their homes. And these events are not far off. They're happening now. How many of you remember the flooding on Kauai last year? Roads turned to rivers. People lost their homes. In 24 hours, over 50 inches of rain fell in Hanalei. That's water up to my shoulders. And these extreme weather conditions are all a result of global warming. In fact, 21 out of 27 extreme weather events in 2016 were a result of human-caused climate change. And scientists have found that since 1912, over 10% of the world's ice has melted. And this is due to us humans. We've been burning fossil fuels like coal and gas to create electricity or power for our cars, and that is releasing a CO2 pollution into the atmosphere, which is warming our planet. The effects of global warming touch every part of our lives: food supply, housing, jobs, the economy. Waikiki alone generates over $2 billion in revenue every year for the state. What will happen when it's underwater? So, now that you know enough about global warming to know that it's coming into play faster than anybody would have ever predicted, and our homes will disappear, but what can you do to help? It's easy to say the little things, like turning off lights when you leave a room, taking shorter showers, walking instead of driving, but the famous environmentalist David Suzuki once said, in a world of over 7 billion people, each of us is a drop in the bucket. But with enough drops, we can fill any bucket. I think this is a nice idea, but I don't want it to be a drop. I want to fill the whole bucket. And in my research to write this speech, I came across some really inspiring people who took it upon themselves to make a difference in the world and wanted to do the same. So, in conclusion, I hope that you learned enough about global warming to know that you have to act now to make a difference. And it's not just about being the drop in the bucket. The real question is, what will you do to fill the whole bucket? Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Our third speaker is Coco Leon. His speech is entitled, I had a title, but my dog ate it.
I had the best title, I had the best topic on one of the biggest problems in the world. This problem is so widespread, it guaranteed me an A on the speech. It was so good, but I ran out of time. My sister was bugging me about her sleepover. Baseball tryouts made me tired. I just came back from Japan, so I was jet lagged. Josh Ryoka wanted to play Fortnite. My dog ate my paper. Wait a minute. I don't have a dog. My neighbor's dog ate it. My topic is excuses. How many of you have ever made an excuse? Raise your hand. How many of you have already made an excuse today? How many of you have an excuse why you're not raising your hand? According to Cora, the average person makes about 5 excuses per day. Making excuses is an epidemic. So why do we use excuses? Well, it's simple. We see it as a get out of jail card. It's free, easy to come up with, and almost always works. Why not use one? Now, I considered myself a baseball player up until 3 weeks ago when I was cut. There are lots of reasons why I got cut. Must have been favoritism. Too much politics. Wah, wah, wah. So when I told my dad about this, he told me what he always tells me. I'll change the language so it's PG. He told me, Coco, excuses are like armpits. Everyone's got them and they all stink. Excuses will always be there for you. Opportunity won't. Then he said, you either have reasons or you have results. Some will, some won't. But in the end, the only thing that matters is results. You need to turn excuses into action because can equals won't. The only thing that you can control is your attitude. Having a good attitude does not cost you any money and it's not hard to get. Excuses prevent us from trying. The biggest excuse is the fear of failure. The things we eventually regret are not our failures, but the missed opportunities from not trying. You can't try after you're dead. We are gifted the most precious gift, which is the gift of life. A couple years ago, my parents made me go to a leadership camp called Winter's Camp. It was 10 days away from home, and I didn't want to go. I made every single excuse possible, but nothing worked, and I had to go. I was carrying my bags to the cabins when a little girl named Raven, about this tall, ran up to me and enthusiastically helped me with my bags. Turns out that she was in high school, but had several physical disorders and deformities that dramatically shortened her life expectancy. She was judged and bullied her whole life, but since her life was normal, she did her best to do what she could. She was an inspiration to me. She had fear, but never let it control her. I also met a 16-year-old named Nate. He has this tattoo on the top left of his chest with 3 words, life is short. A couple weeks ago, I was at a funeral. I realized that this is all true, because that funeral was for Raven. She passed away 6 weeks ago. The thing that impacted me the most while I was at that funeral was when my friend went up to go speak and said that Raven told him, I'm just a small girl in a small world making a big change. Raven lived her life to have no regrets. she was more afraid of regretting not trying than she was a failure. Raven turned can't into can. So as I sat in that funeral, mourning the loss of my dear friend, I realized that in the end, there are no excuses, there are no reasons, there's no fear, and there's any time. Who would have known that that little girl would change my life forever? So me getting cut from the baseball team, that's my fault. Me procrastinating the speech, that's my fault. Me doing bad in the speech, that'd be my fault. We can all learn from Raven and Nate, put aside the excuses, take the opportunities, and live life to the fullest. Because life is short. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Som. David's speech is entitled, Why Take a Risk?
Have you ever thought about trying out for a sport, auditioning for a show, but didn't go because you're afraid you would fail? Well, you're not alone. So the next time you're in a situation like this, remember that taking risks can help you achieve your goals. Most people just like to play it safe and not take any risks because they are afraid of failure. Millennials may be a generation least likely to take risks according to a Brookings Institute study in 2014. However, did you know that avoiding risks may actually put you at a disadvantage? Let me share with you why taking risks can help you achieve your goals. First of all, taking risks can lead to more opportunities for you. Second, taking risks can build your confidence. And lastly, taking a risk can help you develop new skills. First, taking a risk can lead to more opportunities for you. J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, took a risk by pursuing her passion for writing, in spite of being a single mother on welfare. Now, she has sold over 500 million books. She states, "The truth is that I found success by stumbling off into a path that most people thought was a dead end." If you don't take a risk, then you will never have the chance to achieve your goals. Also, more doors will open up to you. Besides providing opportunities, taking a risk can help you build your confidence. Forbes author John Baldoni states, "Confidence is rooted in accomplishment, but it grows through risk and failure and the will to persevere." In a study of 124 entrepreneurs and 95 top managers, the most successful entrepreneurs saw an exceptionally high level of confidence. Taking a risk can help you accomplish things which will then boost your self-confidence. Finally, you will develop new skills by venturing into uncharted territory. According to Carol Dweck, when students have a growth mindset, they are willing to take on challenges, learn from them, and increase their abilities. Steve Jobs took a risk by pursuing his passion for technology. He and his friends started working on the first Apple computers when he was 20 years old. Taking a risk can help you grow and improve by stretching yourself to do new things. But you may be thinking, why should I take a risk if I just end up failing and embarrassing myself in front of all my friends and family? Yes, taking a risk is uncomfortable, and you must be willing to face the possibility of disappointment of an unwanted outcome. However, if you venture into unknown territory, and if you have the courage to go for it, you may exceed your own expectations. And as Hall of Fame hockey player Wayne Gretzky said, "You'll always miss 100% of the shots you don't take." So the next time you have a chance to do something new, go for it.
Thank you, David. Our next speaker is Sonia Duval. upcoming speech is entitled Essentials We Call Vaccines.
When my parents were children, they had chickenpox. And when my aunt was a child, she suffered from polio. They survived, but thousands, if not millions, of children died from illnesses such as these. Luckily for us, scientists created reliable vaccines to fight against these illnesses, so our generation doesn't have to suffer like our parents. This is why every child who is able should be fully vaccinated. Unfortunately, this isn't already mandatory, meaning that children around the world are left to the mercy of their parents. And it's about time we fix this broken system. Belief spreads like wildfire, growing from rumor to rumor to rumor, and yet it holds no evidence to support it. Vaccines, on the other hand, have been proven to be effective. A study done by the American Academy of Pediatrics stated that vaccines are up to 90 to 99% effective. And in another study done by United Nations, it was declared that vaccines have saved 2 million children globally. Without these advancements in medicine, millions of children wouldn't get an education, a job, or even see their 13th birthday. And with growing superbugs, some illnesses have mutated to become immune to antibiotics, meaning that viruses that are easy to spread, such as the flu, can become untreatable. As quoted from Vaccines Today, vaccines can slow the pace at which drug resistance develops by limiting cases of disease and thereby reducing the use and misuse of antibiotics. Not only do vaccines save the children of today, we desperately need them to save the children of tomorrow. But if vaccines have been proven to be safe, why is there so much hysteria regarding the safety of vaccinations? Andrew Wakefield is responsible for this. In 1998, he published his scientifically untrue findings that rubella and measles vaccines cause autism in young children. Doctors from around the world quickly investigated this claim and found not one single piece of evidence to support it. Coincidentally, Andrew Wakefield was funded by his parents' lawyers, who were then in a lawsuit against vaccine-producing corporations. The only tragedy caused by this scam to help his parents' lawsuit is the irreversible damage of parents who were fooled and the misery it caused for the unfortunate to bury their kids, as the rate of parents who did not vaccinate grew to 1.3%, a small increase, and yet responsible for outbreaks across the nation. As of this year, Washington, D.C. declared a state of emergency over a measles outbreak, something entirely preventable. But it's true, not every child should be fully vaccinated. Those with autoimmune deficiencies, cancer patients, or those who have allergies to ingredients in vaccines, they have to rely on herd immunity. Herd immunity is when 75 to 90% of a community is fully vaccinated. Thus, the illnesses are unable to spread in an environment where most are immune. And for example, since most of us have been fully vaccinated, we've never had to worry about catching typhoid fever, chickenpox, measles, or even hepatitis A, something once considered normal in our parents' generation, something none of us have to go through. Parents are entitled to make medical decisions on behalf of their children, but the question on whether or not to fully vaccinate their child when able isn't solely on behalf of that child. It's on behalf of that little girl with leukemia who needs herd immunity to see her 7th birthday. It's on behalf of their community so that no one will get seriously sick. Not vaccinating when able to is a threat for everyone's health because vaccines aren't miracles. They're scientific breakthroughs, and we need to use them properly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our sixth speaker is Irene Zong. Irene's topic is Paparazzi want more than your photo.
Today's headline: Paparazzi want more than just photos. About a story of a girl whose home got burglarized because of her addiction to social media. We'll just call it Liz. Liz was in 7th grade, just like us when she discovered the almighty social media. She decided, why not try it out? But when she did, she immediately became addicted. She would spend hours upon hours posting about every single second of her life. One day her parents told her that they were taking a trip to Dubai. Dubai, Liz thought it seemed like paradise. So, when she was on the trip, she posted everything. And when she got home, she got the worst of news. Her home was burglarized. This is just a made-up scenario, but something even worse is that this exact thing happens every day all across the globe. Poor choices are being made because of our constant use of social media, and it may not just be ruining our lives at home, but also our relationships with others. If we do not have the courage to say, yes, I can, yes, I will, and yes, I'll try, we may never have the courage to start and quit social media. A new study in the 21st century shows that children are completely ignoring their parents. When a working parent comes home, they are only greeted 50% of the time by their child due to the child's extensive use of social media. Well, now that I told you so much about social media, I haven't really told you what exactly is social media. Social media is, according to dictionary.com, websites and other online means of communication that are used by large groups of people to develop social and professional contacts. Whew, that seems like a lot of information. Let me break it down for you. Social media is websites or apps that are used to connect with people all across the world. And it's supposed to make you more social? But according to Adweek, we spend an average of 40 minutes on YouTube, 35 minutes on Facebook, 15 minutes on Instagram, and 1 minute on Twitter per day. That's 91 minutes per day, and if you add that all up, that's 7% of your entire lifetime. 7%. Now, I know what you're thinking, oh my gosh, 7% isn't even a lot. But let me tell you, 7% is 5 years and 4 months of your entire lifetime. That's 1,949 days. In that time, you could climb Mount Everest 32 times. You could travel to the moon 32 times. You could run 10,000 plus marathons and probably become famous because you won so many gold medals. You could be achieving amazing feats and making a name for yourself. But instead, you choose to sit on a couch and stare at a screen. Shocking and embarrassing. There are still some upsides to social media, though. For example, it provides a very efficient way to communicate with people halfway across the world. But my point is it tears down these so intricately crafted relationships built among society. Well, I'm not saying you should quit social media altogether. Obviously, you could if you wanted to. I'm saying you should start little by little. Choose a less explosive way. Then, from 20 years from now, you'll see what you did was absolutely right. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. Next up is Nicholas Lockwood. Nicholas' speech is entitled No More Silence, End Gun Violence.
Do you remember what you did on December 12th, 2012? I don't. We were all in first grade, so I imagined that I went to recess, went to lunch, and did just about the same thing I did every day. I only realize now how lucky I was to be able to do so. That same day in Newtown, Connecticut, a mentally disturbed teen named Adam Lanza was able to access an AR-15, 2 semi-automatic handguns, and a shotgun. He killed his mother, then proceeded to a nearby elementary school called Sandy Hook. He shot and killed 20 other first graders that day. But it wasn't just Adam's fault. It was also the fault of our government, who has not done nearly enough to prevent potentially dangerous or disturbed people like Adam from getting guns. In order to prevent mass shootings like this in the future, the US government needs to strengthen our gun laws. But what are the US's current gun laws? While individual states decide whether citizens are allowed to carry guns in public, federal gun laws decide who's allowed to buy a gun. Federal gun laws do check for a criminal record, but they don't account for many forms of mental illnesses, even when 59% of mass shooters are mentally ill. There is also a loophole in gun control laws that allows anyone to purchase a gun at a gun show. I repeat, at a gun show, anyone over the age of 21 can purchase a gun. They are not subjected to any background check at all. Semi-automatic weapons make up a large part of mass shootings in the US. Nearly all major mass shootings are committed using semi-automatic weapons, and in most states, you can legally buy an attachment called a bump stock that allows a semi-automatic rifle to function as a fully automatic rifle. A study by the American Medical Association proved that on average, attacks with semi-automatic weapons kill twice as many people as attacks with non-semi-automatic weapons. The US can look to other countries for effective gun control laws. While critics of gun control say the solution is arming more citizens in order to stop gun violence, countries like Japan and Australia are proving every day that that isn't true. In 2014, the US had over 33,000 gun deaths. Japan had 6. When Australia started to ban or buy back guns from citizens, not only did gun deaths go down, but murder rates and other weapons didn't start to rise. They stayed about the same, proving that citizens won't just move on to another weapon. Strengthening our gun laws would help to stop gun violence. It is not an opinion, it is a fact. In the US, you're more likely to die from a gun than from a car crash. In the US, teens like us are far more likely to die from a gun than we are from cancer. In the US, children across the country don't feel safe at school. We need to take a stand against gun violence, or the number of gun deaths will continue to rise. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. Our final speaker, Valerie Yin. The speech title is Children Beware, It's Not Candy.
Skittles, one of the most well-known candies today. There are over 100 unique Skittle flavors, such as passion fruit, green slushy, and the list goes on. This is a common marketing technique that companies use, creating a variety of flavors to keep their customers wanting more. But what if I told you that vape companies have played this trick on us? They're adding flavors into vape liquids, which, as you can guess, are targeting young children, just like yourself. There are over 15,000 known vape flavors on the market today, and that number goes up as the amount of underage vapors goes up also. By not doing anything, we are letting generations become destroyed by other people's successes. This is why I believe e-cigarette flavors should be banned. My first point is that these e-juices attract young children to try vaping. 85% of e-cigarette users aged 12 to 17 use flavors. This shows us that company strategies are working. The FDA pointed out that flavors like cotton candy make vaping more appealing. It is giving the wrong impression that vaping is just like eating sugary sweets and desserts. Vaping is already addicting enough, but when flavors are added, it becomes even more addicting.
A study in Texas showed that 77% of middle and high school students would not continue their use of e-cigarettes if these flavors weren't available. Vape liquids contain nicotine, a highly addictive substance. An adolescent's brain is very vulnerable to getting hooked to this substance, which companies have in mind. Yet, they do nothing about it. They continue aiming their flavors at underage vapors. Because think about it. Do you really think flavors like apple juice are meant for adults to buy? E-cigarettes and vape flavors are causing emotional and health problems that can harm brain development and increase the risk of health problems later in life. Diacetyl is the chemical used for making the buttery flavor of e-juices, and it was also used in microwave popcorn. Workers in the popcorn factory inhaled this chemical, which caused major health problems. As a result, popcorn manufacturers removed this chemical from their products. This shows us that people obviously know the risk of this chemical. So why is diacetyl still legally allowed to be used as vape juice flavoring? The trend of vaping has skyrocketed, causing an increase in underage vapors by 78% from 2017 to 2018. We need to push the ban on e-juices because we can't continue to let our teens and children become damaged and brainwashed by these so-called cool devices. On February 4th, a display was set up outside of the Capitol, which was meant to show the community that candy-flavored tobacco hooks kids. People are starting to realize how terrible vape juices are, and they are starting to take action for the safety of our youth. This is why I believe e-cigarette flavors should be banned. One small change today can cause a huge impact, leading to a brighter, safer tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Damon. Okay, it's up to the judges now. Let me review for you what everybody spoke about. Jack told us about childhood obesity, Michael about global warming, Coco about excuses, David about taking a risk in life, Sonia about vaccines and the dangers of not being vaccinated, Irene about social media and screen time, Nicholas about gun violence in this country, and Valerie about banning flavored e-cigarettes. All right, so the judges are going to be looking for the top three. This will probably take about 5 minutes. Why don't you talk to the kids around you and see if you guys can figure out who the top three will be. Wow, this was close on the judges' scorecards. There was only 1 point separating the gold and the silver. But we'll start with the bronze. Taking the bronze medal is Valerie Yim. Taking the silver medal, Sonia Duval-Arnold. And taking the gold, Coco Leon. Thank you, everybody. The assembly is dismissed.